Okay, this is the Chilkoot slideshow. This is a trip back in the early 1990s that we took. There were 3 of us that went on it. We started in Juneau and rode the ferry up to Skagway and then went out to Dialog, and then you hike up and over the scales, which is the crux of the project, and down to Lake Bennett where you can catch the train back into Skagway. It looks like I got some historic slides that I put in here. Gold panning at 40 below. That must have been a long winter waiting to get back in and do that gold mining. Here we are starting out. I think it's probably 15, 20, 30 miles. It's not that long. And it goes up and over the scales, which is the crux of the project, which is probably 1,500 feet, maybe 2,000 feet, into the Yukon River drainage. The Yukon's kind of cool because it really starts there and it drains out in western Alaska and the Arctic about 1,000 miles away. But here's a glacier with a drain. They have all these nice bridges across the river so you don't have to ford them. Lots of good spots to camp. Lots of artifacts out there, things that people didn't want to carry over the hill. Cabins out there. If the weather was really bad, I think those cabins would come in handy. The scales themselves, we're really approaching them at this point. I think it's Sheep's Camp is the last place before you start to do some elevation gain. And here we are at the base of this area. They call it the scales. The Canadians, because of a shortage of food a couple years earlier, required everybody to bring in a ton of goods before they let you in Canada. So you had to pack your stuff up and over this. For a couple years, eventually they built a tram and a couple different railroads that got you to the same place, but in the beginning they had to hike over the top of the scales, and there was kind of a rush on to get up to into the Yukon because, well, there was gold up there, the Klondike. There was a worldwide depression on, and so this was, I guess, a good place to find a job. So this is really the crux, just getting up this bouldery hill, and then once you're up on top, you're at the Canadian border, and it's a downhill trudge back down to Bennett. You could turn around at this point and go back. You could, I suppose you could build a scow and float down to Dawson. There was a series of lakes that you hiked past. Beautiful country, and you eventually get back down to Bennett. People used to hike out on the train tracks, but I think they operate the train seasonally for the tourists in Skagway, so you can ride out on the train if you've got money. Here's Bennett back in the day, with everybody getting ready to float down to cemetery. Lots of great lake views down there. Definitely mosquito-y country, and these cabins along the way. This is a trapper cabin, and here's the church at Bennett. There were probably more than a few churches down at Bennett. I'm sure it was a pretty tough time. Looks like I got a reflection on a lake picture, and some more historic scow building down at Bennett. And this trip was by no means done, but when you got to Bennett, is that it was a 200-300 mile float downstream, and there were rapids, and it was some pretty rough country. So those people were pretty tough back in the day. We're back in Skagway here, which is really a cruise boat tourist town. It's kind of like Disneyland anymore. And here's my wrap shots. So thanks for watching.